Representative Wesley Hunt from Texas blasts the FBI director, Christopher Wray, for the two-tier justice system that we exist in. And he had a beautiful phrase. He says they're protecting Biden, prosecuting Trump. Two different modalities. One serves their ends, the other wages war on their political enemies. And so here is the clip from Wesley Hunt. He's talking about the legitimacy of the FBI. As more and more Americans recognize what's happening and that agency literally raided a political person in America called Donald Trump, who is going against Joe Biden, who runs the executive branch, who runs the FBI, people can see that this agency is no longer a pillar of justice as we once believed it was. And so here is Representative Wesley Hunt from Texas asking Christopher Wray about these two standards.
A recent poll found that 37% of Americans have a positive view of the FBI. And that's from an NBC poll. I wouldn't exactly call that right media propaganda.
That's rough.
I think I know why. Here's what the American people know and believe about the FBI today, sir. If you are a Trump, you'll be prosecuted.
Yes.
If you are a Biden, you'll be protected.
Beautiful.
And the American people that I represent are sick and tired of this double standard. It seems like every single hearing that we have in this room, we talk about the two-tier justice system of Biden's DOJ and the FBI. And as we were talking earlier, here we are again. President Trump endured an unprecedented raid at his home in Mar-a-Lago. President Biden's home, however, was respectfully browsed. President Trump is facing up to 400 years in federal prison for allegedly being in possession of classified documents he obtained as the commander-in-chief of these United States of America. And meanwhile, President Biden is facing no charges for the classified documents he had held at his time as a senator and a vice president, not the president of these United States of America.
Bravo.
Last I checked, he had no legal authority to declassify those documents.
No, he did not at all.
Assuming President Trump was in possession of said classified documents, would those documents be more secure surrounded by Secret Service at Mar-a-Lago or in a box in a garage behind your Corvette? No, the answer to that question. Question for you, sir. What can you tell us about the status of the FBI's investigation of President Biden's classified documents found next to his Corvette in Delaware and those found at the Penn Biden Center? Do we have an update on that, sir?
What I can tell you is that there is an ongoing special counsel investigation led by Mr. Robert Hur.
And it's literally, I think, 1/5 of the funding that is being used to prosecute Trump. There was a report, we talked about it several shows ago, where I believe it was about $1 million a month to prosecute Trump and about $100,000 a month to prosecute Biden. Pretty amazing.
And we have FBI agents affiliated with it, working on it, working very actively and aggressively with him on that case. I obviously disagree with your description of the two standards. In my view, at least under my watch, we have one standard.
Okay.
And that is we're going to pursue the facts wherever they lead, no matter who likes it. And I add that last part because especially in sensitive investigations, almost by definition, somebody's not going to like it.
So,
yeah, but except Trump has literally 10 times the funding to prosecute him. 10 times the team, 10 times the people, 10 times the charges. And it's all because of something very similar to what Joe Biden has done.
I understand, and that's actually why I led with the sentiment of the American people.
Less even serious than what Joe Biden has done because he was actually the president.
Well, I understand that's your sentiment. I do want to finish this. So I want everybody to talk about this dichotomy that we have seen. I get your point, sir, but that's just not what we see as the public, as we the people. We see one case being fast-tracked and one case being slow-walked. We see one president's home being raided, the other president's home being kindly searched. You have one government agency, the Secret Service, protecting the former president and his home, and another government agency, the FBI, raiding the same home. Now, to me, sir, that's tragically ironic. And we expect more from a functional constitutional republic, and these things shouldn't be happening. Now, it's my opinion that Joe Biden is the most unpopular president we have seen in a century, and that's why he knows the only way to stop President Trump from beating him in November is by putting him in jail.
Prosecute him. That's the
you
campaign.
Talked about this, Mr. Fry.
Yes.
In the 247 years of this existence of this great nation, only one president has ever been indicted by the DOJ and has home raided by the FBI. Now, some have said that President Trump's indictment means that no one is above the law. Okay. All right. I would love to see that. What about Hillary Clinton?
And
what about Joe Biden?
And Hunty.
And what about Hunter Biden?
Yeah, Hunty Poo.
Who is America's favorite son.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. I got a 4-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old daughter at my house. Hunter Biden to me is like glitter. He is on everything, and you cannot get rid of him.
Yes.
And yet nothing is going to be done about this.
He is like glitter.
James Comey decided not to prosecute Hillary Clinton despite overwhelming evidence that she committed crimes. And as I recall, it was the position of the FBI to not prosecute because they didn't want to interfere with the presidential election. What do you call this? The Iowa caucuses are in 6 months. 6 months. I think the American public would expect to see this from Cuba and from Venezuela and from Russia and from China, but not here. The people expect us to have blind justice. They expect equal justice under the law. It is not the job of the DOJ or the FBI to prosecute Joe Biden's top political opponent who was leading in every single primary poll, and the Iowa caucuses are in 6 months. Let the people decide. It's our job to uphold the Constitution.
All right, Wesley Hunt from Texas, 38th District. Bravo, brilliant statement. And I think it was very well crafted, establishing the double standards. And I really like the alliteration there of prosecuting Trump, protecting Biden. Nice line. Now, what he articulated for us was those two tiers. And what's so interesting is that we know that the DOJ, as Mr. Hunt pointed out, is basically waging the political campaign on behalf of Joe Biden. Joe Biden can't give a barn burner speech. He can't even fill a cafeteria room, all right? He's not going anywhere in rallying America and Americans to get behind his new grand vision for the future. That's just not happening. But what they do have is the power of the government. They've got the DOJ and the FBI, and they will exercise their enforcers when the time is appropriate. And you can see this. It's not just one executive branch. It's not just the Joe Biden people. Here is Eric Swalwell, one of the stinkiest people in Congress. And he was out during this testimony today. And you can see his arms are a little bit, crossed here. He's kind of irritated. And this is because somebody has been calling him to account. Somebody who we've had here on this channel, Garrett Ziegler from Marco Polo USA. He was the author in his organization of the Hunter Biden laptop report, which has been spreading around the internet like wildfire. And the more and more people see it and share it, the more and more eyes are exposed to this horrendous criminality that exists in the White House. And so as that continues to grow and expand, people get a little bit nervous about it. They get a little bit rattled. And they have to call their enforcers to go and stop him. This guy's really embarrassing us. This Garrett Ziegler, Marco Polo crew, they're making us look like idiots. And so here now is Eric Swalwell illustrating literally what Wesley Hunt had just articulated, that when it's appropriate, the Democrats appear, they ask for enforcement, they pick up the phone, call the FBI, and they're so shameless about it, they'll do it right in the middle of a congressional hearing. Here's Eric Swalwell hinting that the FBI should go take out his opponent, Garrett Ziegler.
I want to turn your attention to an organization called Marco Polo. It's run by a former Trump aide named Garrett Ziegler. Over the past couple weeks, he has doxed the addresses of a former special agent connected to the Hunter Biden case. He has put up the dates of births and pictures of two current special agents who work for you. He has said the name, which I will not say, of an assistant U.S. attorney who worked in the Hunter Biden case, that she will answer for her crimes. He will focus everything on her. Justice will be done. It's out of my hands, but she will answer. Do these types of threats and doxing concern you about threats to your workforce and what it could mean?
Well, obviously, what we're most concerned about are the actual acts of violence.
Yeah, no, actually, we can't really do much about that, Eric Swalwell. What we're actually concerned about is violence. You can see here, Swalwell's basically saying, can you please go arrest Garrett for us? Those Marco Polo people, they're making us look like absolute idiots. They're exposing our own documents, okay? They're publishing our own materials. They are shining the spotlight on all of our corruption. We hate it. Can you do something about that for us? And he says, no, actually, we can't do anything about it. So sorry, Eric. Trying to use the FBI to censor his opponents. And he just says, no, we're actually only focused on the violence, though. This is a disgusting thing that he is doing. He is trying to silence his critics. He's using his position as a congressman to drag their name out into the congressional record, which is pretty awesome, by the way. Congratulations to their team. I mean, it's like goals, want to get in the congressional record some point. And if Stinky Eric Swalwell is going to do it, it's like, man, what better way to get in there? So shout out to Garrett and the Marco Polo people. But it is still a horrendous thing, right? He's implying that the FBI should go and investigate these people for exposing them. He wants to use the government to silence his political enemies. It's the same pattern. Wesley Hunt just called it out. And literally in the hearing, he's like, is there anybody else, Eric, that you don't like? You want to include some other people that maybe the FBI should investigate? Maniacs. So the double standard is there on full display, literally even in the hearing. And so this is Representative Barry Moore asking about this. He's a representative over from Alabama. And here's what he said.
Why would the FBI offer Christopher Steele $1 million to verify a dossier about Trump-Russian collusion, and then the same FBI offer $3 million to Twitter to squash a story on the Hunter Biden laptop? Do you have any idea why a law enforcement agency would be playing into elections?
Well, you raised a number of different issues there. So first, as to the Steele dossier, that, of course, is a subject treated at great length in the Durham report, which and again, predates my time as director.
I understand that, but it was the same agency paying $1 million to push one story out or try to collaborate one story, and $3 million to quiet another story for political opponents.
So just pausing there, saying the FBI paid $1 million to Christopher Steele, the Steele dossier. That was that fake PP tape report from Russia, allegedly, that they funneled back up through Michael Sussman, who took it to Twitter, who met with James Baker there, and they tried to get the FBI to publish the story. And that was like paid $1 million to Igor Danchenko and all these money, all of it to create a fake hoax. It came out of the FBI's pockets. On the other side of that, right, that's to harm Trump. Well, in that case, they spent $3 million to repay Twitter for their efforts for their suppression campaigns. Twitter was saying, well, we got to bill you for all of this additional work. And so the FBI said, yeah, okay, here's $3 million. So $1 million to harm Trump plus another $3 million to help their guy.
Oh, I understand.
And then I would, as to the second part related to Twitter, I would disagree with your characterization respectfully. When there are payments to social media companies, that is by longstanding federal law going back, I think, about 4 decades, where we have to pay companies for their costs in responding to legal process. And it's not just social media companies, it's other kinds of businesses as well.
Well, when those stories get out, and you understand, and certainly the dossier story, and I know that wasn't under your watch, but also the Hunter Biden laptop story, that, to me, looks political. To the American people, it looks political. And I'm just an everyday guy. I'm not an attorney, Mr. Ray. Just an everyday guy. To me, it looks extremely political, and that is why you're having trouble keeping the FBI's reputation afloat.
Yeah, you don't have to be a lawyer. Everybody can see how corrupt the FBI is. And I really think this is a big deal for Christopher Wray. I mean, you have to think about these people and the legacies that they want to leave. And the history. What is going to be said about them when they're no longer in charge of the FBI? Is the FBI going to be remembered as an institution of legitimacy after Christopher Wray? No. I mean, if he went in there and it was 75% legitimacy, it's now down to, what did he say, Wesley? 30%? Whew, that is a catastrophic fall. And I don't know where it started. Maybe it wasn't that high, but it was a lot higher than 30%, because we've seen after COVID, after the election, after January 6th, after the Governor Whitmer plot, on and on and on, they have been failing at protecting our civil liberties and protecting our country in the meantime. And so now we're starting to call them out. And Kevin McCarthy got asked about this, the Speaker of the House. And here is what he said when being asked about what to do about all this. I mean, we know they're corrupt. So what?
Why would you wait to the statute of limitations when it came to Hunter Biden, to the most serious problems, and he would not be held accountable for that or pay taxes on that? And how could you move so fast if it's somebody you disagree with philosophically, like a President Trump, and you could move real quick to indict there? Everything we have watched from this point forward, they treat people differently based upon their political beliefs, and that is wrong, and we're going to get to the bottom of it, and we're going to stop it.
All right, we'll get to the bottom of it. We'll see if they do or not. But we are asking about what are the consequences here. We have seen a House resolution by Matt Gaetz on FISA. We know that there are other efforts to stop some of the appropriations that are going over to the FBI. But what about impeachment? What about impeaching Christopher Wray? Marjorie Taylor Greene has that idea.
Director Wray has turned the Federal Bureau of Investigation into the personal police force of Joe Biden and Attorney General Merrick Garland. It is wholly unacceptable for the FBI director or any civil officer to use their power in a way that targets one political class and favors another. Wray has used Soviet-style tactics in his targeting of average Americans and placed threat tags on everyone from pro-life groups to traditional Catholics.
In America.
He even sent armed agents to the home of President Donald Trump, who is also the current frontrunner in the Republican presidential election. in a politically motivated raid to influence an upcoming election, all while shielding the current Democrat president's vile son from a criminal probe.
Crackhead.
Wray is using his extremely powerful law enforcement role for political purposes. He must be impeached.
All right. So we'll see if anything like that happens. A lot of different things the Republicans can do. Now's about the time. I mean, we've got an election coming up. We know the Iowa caucuses are starting in January. So if they're going to be prosecuting Donald Trump, and we know they've got 2 of the 4 indictments that are coming. There might be more indictments, superseding indictments, Bedminster, New Jersey indictments, who knows. But if they're going to be launching their attacks, it's time for the Republicans to start playing the same game, because it's not going to get any better. Christopher Wray is going to keep using FISA. He's going to keep using everything he can. In fact, he might try to escalate things, because he's maybe got a clock that is now ticking, since all the Republicans are now breathing down his neck on this. So we'll see if impeachment happens. We'll see if there's any, defunding through appropriations, or if HR Matt Gaetz actually passes.